The Baron's story was short, when divested of the adages and commonplaces, Latin, English, and Scotch, with which his erudition garnished it. He insisted much upon his grief at the loss of Edward and of Glennaquoich, fought the fields of Falkirk and Culloden, and related how, after all was lost in the last battle, he had returned home, under the idea of more easily finding shelter among his own tenants and on his own estate than elsewhere. A party of soldiers had been sent to lay waste his property, for clemency was not the order of the day. Their proceedings, however, were checked by an order from the civil court. The estate, it was found, might not be forfeited to the Crown to the prejudice of Malcolm Bradwardine of Inchgrabbit, the heir male, whose claim could not be prejudiced by the Baron's attainder, as deriving no right through him, and who, therefore, like other heirs of entail in the same situation, entered upon possession. But, unlike many in similar circumstances, the new laird speedily showed that he intended utterly to exclude his predecessor from all benefit or advantage in the estate, and that it was his purpose to avail himself of the old Baron's evil fortune to the full extent. This was the more ungenerous, as it was generally known that, from a romantic idea of not prejudicing this young man's right as heir male, the Baron had refrained from settling his estate on his daughter. This selfish injustice was resented by the country people, who were partial to their old master, and irritated against his successor. In the Baron's own words, the matter did not coincide with the feelings of the Commons of Bradwardine, Mr. Waverley, and the tenants were slack and repugnant in payment of their mails and duties, and when my kinsman came to the village the new factor, Mr. James Howie, to lift the rents, some wanchancy person, I suspect John Heatherblutter, the old gamekeeper, that was out me in the year 15, fired a shot at him in the gloaming, whereby he was so affrighted, that I may say with Tullius in Catilinum, abiit, evasit, erupit, effugit. He fled, sir, as one may say, incontinent to Stirling. And now he hath advertised the estate for sale, being himself the last substitute in the entail. And if I were to lament about sick matters, this would grieve me more than its passing from my immediate possession, whilk, by the course of nature, must have happened in a few years, whereas now it passes from the lineage that should have possessed it in secula seculorum. But God's will be done, humana perpessi sumus. Sir John of Bradwardine, Black Sir John, as he is called, who was the common ancestor of our house and the Inchgrabbits, little thought such a person would have sprung from his loins. Meantime, he has accused me to some of the primates, the rulers for the time, as if I were a cutthroat, and an abettor of bravos and assassinates and coupjarets. And they have sent soldiers here to abide on the estate, and hunt me like a partridge upon the mountains, as Scripture says of good King David, or like our valiant Sir William Wallace, not that I bring myself into comparison with either. I thought, when I heard you at the door, they had driven the old deer to his den at last, and so I e'en proposed to die at bay, like a buck of the first head. But now, Janet, canna ye gie us something for supper? Oh sir, I'll brander the moorfowl that John Heatherblutter brought in this morning, and ye see poor Davies roasting the black hen's eggs. I dare say, Mr. Waverley, ye never ken that of the eggs that were ye will roasted at supper in the house where I turned by our Davy? There's no the like o' him ony gate for powdering white his fingers amang the het peat ashes and roasting eggs. Davy all this while lay with his nose almost in the fire, nuzzling among the ashes, kicking his heels, mumbling to himself, turning the eggs as they lay in the hot embers, as if to confute the proverb, that there goes reason to roasting of eggs, and justify the eulogium which poor Janet poured out upon him whom she loved, her idiot boy. Davies no as silly as folk tak him for, Mr. Waverley, he wadna hae brought you here unless he had kenned you as a friend to his honour, indeed the very dogs kenned ye, Mr. Waverley, for ye was I kind to beast in body. I can tell you a story o' Davy, why his honour's leave. His honour, ye see, being under hiding in they sair times, the mare's the pity, he lies a day, and whiles a night, in the cove in the Durnhag, but though it's a bealdy enough bit, and the old goodman o' Corsclough has panged it white a Kempel o' stray amazed, yet when the country's quiet, and the night very cold, his honour whiles creeps down here to get a warm at the ingle and asleep amang the blankets, and gains out in the morning. And so, in morning, sick in a fright as I got. TWA unlucky redcoats were up for black fishing, or some sick ploy for the nebo them's never out o' mischief, and they just got a glisk o' his honor as he geed into the wood, and banged half a gun at him. I out like a jafalcon, and cried, "Wad they shoot an honest woman's poor innocent bairn?" And I flayed at them, and threepit it was my son, and they damned and swore at me that it was the old rebel, as the villain see'd his honor, and Davy was in the wood, and heard the toolsy, and he, just out o' his own head, got up the old grey mantle that his honor had flung off him to gang the faster, and he came out o' the very same bit o' the wood, majoring and looking about a say like his honor, that they were clean beguiled, and thought they had let 10 F their gun at crack-brained. Sonny, as they see him, and they gie me saxpence, and TWA salmon fish, to say naething about it. Nah, Davy's no just like other folk, poor fellow, but he's no sae silly as folk tak him for. But, to be sure, how can we do enough for his honor, when we and ours have lived on his groundless TWA 100 years, and when he keep it my poor Jamie at school and college, and even at the ha-house, till he gied to a better place, and when he saved me frae being ta'en to Perth as a witch, Lord forgie them that would touch sic a poor silly old body, and has maintained poor Davy at heck and manger maist feck o' his life? Waverley at length found an opportunity to interrupt Janet's narrative by an inquiry after Miss Bradwardine. "She's weel and safe, thank God." "At the Duckrin," answered the Baron, "the laird's distantly related to us, and more nearly to my chaplain, Mr. Rubrick, and, though he be of Whig principles, yet he's not forgetful of old friendship at this time. The Bailey's doing what he can to save something out of the wreck for poor Rose, but I doubt, I shall never see her again, for I'm on lay my banes in some far country." "Hout na, your honor," said old Janet, "you were just as ill aff in the 15, and got the bonny barony back, and now the eggs is ready, and the muircocks brandered, and there's ilkane a trencher and some sod, and the heel o' the white loaf that came frae the Baileys, and there's plenty o' brandy in the greybeard that Lucky McCleary sent down, and winna ye be suppered like princes?" "I wish one prince, at least, of our acquaintance may be no worse off," said the Baron to Waverley, who joined him in cordial hopes for the safety of the unfortunate chevalier. They then began to talk of their future prospects. The Baron's plan was very simple. It was to escape to France, where, by the interest of his old friends, he hoped to get some military employment, of which he still conceived himself capable. He invited Waverley to go with him, a proposal in which he acquiesced, providing the interest of Colonel Talbot should fail in procuring his pardon. Tacitly he hoped the Baron would sanction his addresses to Rose, and give him a right to assist him in his exile, but he forbore to speak on this subject until his own fate should be decided. They then talked of Glennaquoich, for whom the Baron expressed great anxiety, although, he observed, he was the very Achilles of Horatius Flaccus. "Impiger, iracundus, inexorabilis, acer." Which, he continued, has been thus rendered, vernacularly, by Struan Robertson. "A fiery ettercap, a fractious chiel, as head as ginger, and as steve as steel." Flora had a large and unqualified share of the good old man's sympathy. It was now wearing late. Old Janet got into some kind of kennel behind the hallan. Davy had been long asleep and snoring between Ban and Busker. These dogs had followed him to the hut after the mansion house was deserted, and there constantly resided, and their ferocity, with the old woman's reputation of being a witch, contributed a good deal to keep visitors from the glen. With this view, Bailie Macweeble provided Janet underhand with meal for their maintenance, and also with little articles of luxury for his patron's use, in supplying which much precaution was necessarily used. After some compliments, the Baron occupied his usual couch, and Waverley reclined in an easy chair of tattered velvet, which had once garnished the state bedroom of Tully Veolan, for the furniture of this mansion was now scattered through all the cottages in the vicinity, and went to sleep as comfortably as if he had been in a bed of down.